Welcome back. So, mantle convection is driving the movement of the tectonic plates. Well, when those tectonic plates move, they can interact in a few different ways. They can crash into one another and converge. They can get pulled apart from one another or diverge. Or sometimes they kind of just glide and slide, kind of grind next to one another, kind of on a side-by-side motion. To help illustrate these types of boundaries, geology is about to get delicious. We can use Oreo cookies to kind of help us illustrate plate tectonics. Let me show you how that's done. Let me see if we can do this. Yeah. Oh, look, there's me. Twins. All right. So what you do, you can do this at home if you have an Oreo cookie. You want to kind of open it up so you leave the delicious filling kind of all intact. Yeah, that's pretty good. So the sticky cream filling here, which is mostly solid, that's going to act as our mantle. Now we're going to take the top wafer with nothing on it here, and we're going to try and break it in half as best we can. Close enough. All right. So now what I'm going to do then is that I'm going to now place those two pieces, broken pieces, back on top of the cookie, just very gently. All right? So what this is going to illustrate is two plates. Those two pieces of the cookie wafer represent two different tectonic plates, and they're riding on the mantle. You can ignore the bottom part. So some things that plates can do. They can diverge from one another, so move away, spread apart. They can converge, come together, or they can slide side by side. So let me illustrate some of those for you. This might be a little bit hard to see here. Okay. Let me put something over my keyboard so I don't get cookie dust everywhere. Probably a smart idea. All right, here we go. So, let's see. There's a better way to do this. Here, let me pause real quick. Let me figure this out. 1 second. Okay, much better, much better. Now we can see what's going on. Again, the white filling will serve as the mantle. These two pieces of the top wafer will interact, will be two different plates interacting. So what are some things that, or how some ways the plates can interact? They can slide side by side. Mantle convection can cause the plates to kind of grind side by side. If you can hear that. Hear that? So plates can kind of grind side by side. That's the best look at it since it is kind of dark in here. All right, there we go. So plates can kind of grind side by side. This one is a transform boundary. Plates can also diverge, so spread apart. Mantle convection can pull them apart. So plates can kind of spread out, so they can diverge. Or you can get the mantle convection driving other plates together, converging. So watch what happens when the plates converge, come together. Ready? Oh, geez Louise. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these. So, when they were sliding side by side at a transform boundary, you can see there's no vertical movement here, but there was a lot of grinding. You hear that? So when plates kind of move side by side, that grinding of the plates, that's what, in some cases, helps to create earthquakes. So transform boundaries, this side-by-side motion. Divergent boundaries, there really wasn't any grinding. You can see there's really no vertical motion of the plates, but you do expose this white mantle material to kind of come back up, fill in the gap, cool, solidify, creating new crust. This happens mostly underneath the oceanic crust. But then, so that's when plates are pulling apart or diverging from one another. It's called a divergent boundary. Or, in the third case, the plates were crashing into one another, they were converging, and you can see when that happens, you get uplift, you get the ground moving, the ground shaking. So at convergent boundaries, you can get destruction, you get earthquakes, you get volcanoes. Convergent boundaries, as you can see, are the kind of nastiest type of boundary to live near. All right. Divergent boundaries, typically found in the ocean, but not always. Very gentle, really no earthquakes. You do get a little bit of volcanics happening at the mid-ocean ridge. That mantle material, the release of pressure can melt it a little bit, causing the magma liquid rock to kind of, again, fill in that gap, cool and solidify. But here at the transformed side-by-side boundary, earthquakes, very common, that you hear that grinding. But really there's no uplift, no mountains created, no volcanoes, but earthquakes. All right. And then the best part of this is then now after you've done your science, you can do this. We're going to pause here for just a second. When we come back, we'll talk about the different types of plate boundaries. I'll see you back here in just a second.